Today, I'm going to show you exactly how a Roth conversion ladder works, how it could potentially allow you to access retirement funds before the age of 59 and a half, and how crucial reporting properly is to ensure that you don't slip up and make a mistake that could cost you tens of thousands of dollars. Now, many of you might assume that the only way to access retirement funds is to wait until the age of 59 and a half, or you could get hit with taxes and penalties, which could become a hindrance should you decide to retire before that magic age. But there is a completely legal, IRS-recognized strategy that could allow you to access these funds, and that is with the Roth conversion ladder. At its core, a Roth conversion ladder is moving certain amounts of money over time from traditional pre-tax 401k, 403b, or IRA accounts to Roth accounts. Once inside the Roth, those dollars can be accessed tax-free and penalty-free, providing they reach the 5-year holding period. And this isn't about cutting corners. It's about working within the rules that are legitimate in order to create an additional layer of flexibility for your retirement plan. Although there's a lot of jargon around this, the explanation is rather simple. Contributions to the Roth are money that you put in. Conversions to the Roth are money that you shift from a pre-tax account to the Roth account. And earnings on the Roth is anything that grows above and beyond these limits. And separating those three terms and having a very distinct understanding of what they are can potentially help you clear up any confusion that could come with this strategy. Let's picture the ladder idea in practice. Each time you make a conversion, that particular conversion of dollars from a pre-tax account to a Roth account starts its own 5-year clock. After 5 years passes, that particular amount in which you converted becomes accessible, tax-free, and penalty-free. In the case of a ladder, say year 1, you convert $50,000, which has its own 5-year window, and then year 2, you convert another $50,000, which starts its own 5-year clock, and so on and so forth. And in doing this over time, you essentially create rungs of money in which you have access to theoretically before you reach the age of 59 and a half. What I find interesting is that the flexibility that comes along with this strategy tends to have fewer restrictions than other retirement strategies that you might consider implementing over time. And unlike Roth contributions, there is no income limit when it comes to conversions, so in theory, you can convert any amount that you want at any time over the course of years or at once. But like anything, there are trade-offs that come with this strategy as well. And the fact of the matter is, every dollar that you convert is a dollar added onto your income for that particular year. So with that, it can be helpful to speak with your tax professional and your financial professional to gain a full understanding of all sources of income now and for the foreseeable future to see if these Roth conversions might be right for you. I will say from an opportunity standpoint, these Roth conversions could be particularly timely during a market downturn or correction. In these instances, you might have the opportunity to move money from your pre-tax account to your Roth account while investment prices are depressed. And when they eventually come back, if they do, they will experience the recovery inside of a tax-free account. And while the real payoff might not be immediate when doing these conversions, in doing so, you are creating flexibility for yourself, and you could experience compounding growth over time, again, which ends up being tax-free. But here's where things could get tricky. As I mentioned earlier, if these conversions take place over a series of years, they each start their own 5-year conversion clock. So, if you're not in tune with this, misunderstanding the timing could result in unfortunate mistakes and tax consequences. This is one of the reasons I feel that starting as early as possible, providing it makes sense for your situation, can be very important. For example, if you expect to leave the workforce at age 50, but you only start those Roth conversions at that point in time, you'll have to wait until at least 55 years old to access that first rung of money. To avoid falling into this bind, we like to ensure when we're reviewing with clients that if they're going to do so, that they have access to ample liquidity from other sources leading up to and through this conversion ladder. In certain cases, this could be having ample cash on the sidelines or something like a non-retirement oriented brokerage account. It's also important to remember this is essentially a dual balancing act. You have to balance having liquidity now and for the future, in addition to the fact that every time you make the conversion, the IRS gets their tax cut up front. So, when you look at things from more of a holistic perspective, it can certainly be important to consider the fact that you might want to make these conversions over a period of years. And again, having access to liquidity during those years, not only for living expenses, but also to pay the potential tax with making these conversions. And while understanding when your conversions become accessible, something that retirees often overlook is how the IRS judges which buckets of money within the Roth you're pulling out in which order. To this point, they don't let you pick out where that money comes from. And the order is as follows. The first money out is your contributions. The next money out is any conversions. And the third rung of money that comes out is any gains on top. And this order definitely matters, because while contributions might be able to be pulled out immediately, and conversions can be pulled out after the 5-year window is met, any earnings growth that's pulled out too early could end up facing taxes and penalties. To clarify these buckets again, contributions are any monies paid into a Roth with after-tax dollars. Conversions occur when you shift money from a pre-tax account to a Roth account, and earnings are any money that is made on top with the investment growth over time. Now, something that I found to be particularly useful over time is having a full understanding and record keeping of your basis, your contributions, and your conversions. And while your investment statements might show the distributions made in a particular year, they don't always break out the money based on contributions, conversions, and growth. Some folks might choose to use tax software in order to create a ledger for themselves, and others might simply use a spreadsheet. I find when this tracking is consistent, although it can require a little bit more work up front, it could end up preventing headaches on the back end. In doing this, you could end up gaining a better understanding of when your future money is available, when those contributions were made, when they can be accessed, when the conversions were made and when they can be accessed, and what monies on top are growth and when they can be accessed. And this means in practice, something that might be considered an early withdrawal can be taken out without taxes and penalties if done correct, as you're following the IRS rules. The best part is, those funds that you don't touch have the potential to experience compounding growth in a tax-free manner over time. But before you can fully rely on this system, there's another thing I want to hit on. Even if you fully understand the withdrawal order with precision, the fact of the matter is each conversion can add taxable income to your income for the year. And in order to avoid these tax bombs, you need to make sure that you're planning carefully. These common mistakes could result in getting pushed into a higher tax bracket, potentially having a larger portion of your Social Security taxed, or even getting hit with IRMA surcharges. Because the fact is, conversions don't happen in a vacuum. And every dollar that you move from your traditional pre-tax accounts to your Roth account add to your income for the year. If you end up converting too much in a lump sum, it could propel you dramatically higher as far as tax brackets are concerned, which could, in theory, potentially wipe out part of the benefit that the conversions are for in the immediate. Think of it this way. Your income stacks through each tax bracket moving higher. And the more you move up on that tax bracket list, the bigger slice of your money is taken away. So, adding conversions as income, on top of potential dividends, capital gains, Social Security, or pensions, could propel you dramatically higher. And although it's not always possible, we do try to consider, when working with clients, to aim to move the money over the course of several years, as opposed to making 1 or 2 large conversions up front. A very general rule of thumb that I take into consideration is understanding what the headroom is before you hit the top of your intended bracket and only converting that amount. We refer to this strategy as bracket filling, and the general thought behind it is not crossing any tax brackets that would push you significantly higher as far as your taxable situation is concerned. For example, in 2025, the 24% federal tax bracket allows a single filer up to $197,300 in income for the year. So, if you have $120,000 from other income sources, you have about $70,000 that you can convert before popping up into the next tax bracket. On the other hand, if you don't have a good understanding of this, and you chose to convert, say, $300,000 in one shot, you could end up propelling significantly higher as far as tax brackets are concerned and facing taxes that you did not intend on. This, too, can be a bit of a balancing act, because we're not looking solely at the size of one's pre-tax retirement accounts, but we're also looking at the lifetime tax liability and how we can best spread that out over time. That's why it can make sense to coordinate your Roth conversions with all other sources of income. Building a ladder based on steady pacing, for example, if you intend to convert a sum of $500,000, consider moving that money over the course of 5 to 10 years, instead of over the course of 1 to 2 years. I will say there are a handful of other caveats that come into play when planning for these scenarios and the pros and cons of Roth conversions. One of them being legacy planning. Beyond just the dollars and cents that come with the conversions and your own personal situation, taking into account what type of legacy you want to leave behind for your heirs. Converting pre-tax funds in the immediate could allow you to pay the taxes now and potentially leave a tax-free bucket of money to your heirs at the time of passing. In addition, in preparation of required minimum distributions for yourself at some point in time, doing this Roth conversion ladder could allow you to potentially lower your lifetime tax liability. Converting portions of your pre-tax money now and through the course of time prior to reaching RMD age could allow you to lower the overall value of your pre-tax accounts, which could in turn lessen the blow when it comes to your required minimum distributions. And thanks to technology, there are a plethora of tools at our fingertips that help us when we're trying to weigh the pros and cons of making these choices. This is not necessarily a one-time set it and forget it strategy, but more so something that requires annual planning and working with your accountant and tax professional, in addition to your financial professional, to have an understanding of how these conversions could pair with your sources of income each year moving forward. And although this strategy might not make sense for everybody, I have seen multiple times where the payoff ends up being substantial. Creating a predictable pattern of potential tax-free withdrawals, lowering your lifetime tax liability and smoothing out the required minimum distribution process, in addition to potentially leaving tax-free money to your heirs, are all potential benefits of these Roth conversion ladders. And if you're working through your tax planning as the new year approaches, check out our next video here.